When you got back to New York, is that what happened? What happened? Well, I'd visit him in the Trump Hotel in Columbus Circle. Did they do freak-offs in Trump Hotel? He's not going to be happy about that. And in what hotels in New York? Trump Hotel, they had freak-offs? Oh, gross. Trump. Sean would want to put, did you do that? Yes. Sean put it on his nipples. Diddy trial. Day 2, we have Cassie Ventura taking the stand. Here is an artist rendering of what it looked like. First thing you might notice, she's pregnant, which is going to be very sympathetic for the jurors. And there was a lot that went down today, including talks about freak-offs and baby oil and all the things. We'll go through the latest of what happened inside the courtroom, courtesy of Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, who kicks the day off with the judge entering. Door bursts open. All rise, says the clerk. Here comes the judge. Everybody put their phone down. All right, good morning, everybody. Please be seated. Saying, all right, before we bring the jurors in, we got a bunch of jurors out there waiting. We're going to get through these issues as efficiently as we can. Now, we've got a letter here from a juror who wrote us something, and we're going to make that our very first exhibit. Don't know what that was, but now that is admitted. The judge says, now I know we're going to get to some videos this afternoon. When are those going to be offered into evidence? Prosecutor says this afternoon, Your Honor. All right, well, this is about evidence that's coming into this case, so we got to balance this. Now, the public obviously has a right to know about these videos and what's in them and the evidence. This is a public trial. So I don't see how we're going to avoid getting those videos public. But if we want to seal them, there's another problem here, because that might signal to the jurors that this is really bad stuff. Like, it's criminal just by virtue of the fact that we had to seal it, because we can't show the public because it's too criminal. So do you want to seal it? What do you want to do? How should we handle this? Government says, well, Your Honor, we wouldn't want to show the videos to the courtroom gallery. Like, we don't want everybody to see these things. And the jurors and everyone in the well, they're going to wear headphones and they're going to watch it on their headphones and little screens. These materials are explicit and they involved fannies and tissues. One has submitted a letter here. Now, the defense attorney says, Your Honor, this is not evidence in a criminal case at all. Diddy's lawyer. This is ridiculous. This is adult nudie videos. That's what this is. Needs to be narrowly tailored. Our application is that only the visual images, just images, and the audio is within the ambit of the sealing order. And we could ask questions about all of this tastefully, all right? And says, by the way, what do you think the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal are going to do with these videos if they play them? Sometimes things get unsealed and things get published, and we don't want this going out. Judge says, well, on the 2 incidents with Cassie Ventura, Miss Ventura, when we discussed this last week, this came up. The defense says, Your Honor, that assault happened in Connecticut, and those were messages between Miss Ventura and Combs, and so we want to get all of those text messages admitted because it's relevant. It shows that Cassie wanted to get in on this. Prosecutor says, Your Honor, no, that should be excluded. It's not relevant. It was in another, it has nothing to do with this case at all. The judge says, okay, well, let's see if there's any issue when it comes out. The defense says, Your Honor, he suspected that she was cheating on him. So she did not answer her phone. She got into a bar fight. She tried to eliminate someone. So it's relevant to his suspicions, right? This is why he was doing what he was doing. It's his frame of mind. She was doing all this other stuff with that other dude. And her substance abuse was also happening outside of their relationship. So she was also doing all sorts of drugs. She was taking drugs while she was close with her family. She was in another state. All this was going on. Prosecution wants to keep it out. Judge says, no. I overrule the government's objection. Okay, you can ask about all this. It is relevant. Now, I want to get into prior consistent statements. Now, we're talking about a sequencing issue. So we're going to have this timeline of all these statements coming in where she said this and this year and this and that year and this year, and everything's flipping, going all over the place. So when they're prior consistent statements and you're trying to show this pattern that she's been abused here, we're talking about sequence. Are these statements going to come in on direct from the government, or are they coming in during a rebuttal? Can you tell us? Well, Your Honor, in Diddy's opening, they said that Miss Ventura made her own choices. They brought this up. They said, who really had control in this relationship? Now, clearly begging the answer that it was Ventura who was in control of this relationship. That's ridiculous. Now, we have Exhibit B315, the threat to release the tape. They said only she had it, but our exhibit says no. Defense attorney Alexandra Shapiro, part of the Six Pack of White Women, says, we submit, Your Honor, that these are hearsay. All right, so they can't use these statements until a redirect, until they open the door for it, essentially. Now, if they come in, they're in though, right? And you don't object to that? Okay. Shapiro says, we do, Your Honor. What we said in the opening was that Mr. Combs, judge cuts him off, says, hey, well, you seem to say that she was lying about the threats to release the videos. So is that what you're saying? Well, the predicate for the prior consistent statements hasn't been met. Judge says, well, I find it has. The defense opening said that there were millions of reasons for people to testify here. So it's about money. And that's the attack that was used. And so B316, that exhibit, references that. But the standard has not yet been reached as to B332 and B339, other exhibits, obviously we can't see. And so we'll see what gets admitted and what doesn't, right? Fighting over evidence coming into trial. The judge says, all right, let's get Mr. Phillip, the male dancer who was back yesterday. Let's bring him back in, put him in the jury box. All rise. All right, please be seated. He's back in the panel, back in the box. Says, defense attorney cross-examining Xavier Donaldson for Diddy. All right, Mr. Dancer Phillip. Now, so to continue where we left off yesterday, you said that you returned to the Gramercy Hotel. Is that right? Yes. And while you and Miss Cassie Ventura were having intercourse for hours, you said that Miss Ventura took the lead? No. Okay, so then you took the lead? Well, we were equally doing our thing, like there wasn't a leader. Okay, so you decided together then. So you two decided together. See how that was? Like, that's great. Okay, so you guys decided to do these things together. So she was in on it. She wasn't being forced. You guys did it together? Yes. Okay. So is it fair to say that she was in complete control of everything she was doing? Well, I can't say that. Did you wear protection? No, I did not. Now, your boss told you that Miss Cassie Ventura paid for the hotel? Yes. She paid with her credit card? Well, I have nothing to do with that. She used her card to pay for the dancers and stuff. Okay. Now, that assault that you mentioned at her apartment on 11th Avenue, well, I believe it was West End Avenue, he says, I think. You claim that Diddy told her to come over, right? And she said that she had personal information on the computer, so wait a minute. And he threw a bottle at her, is that what you said? Correct. And then he comes out and says, are you ready? He actually said, are you guys ready? Like to both of us. Well, isn't it true that Mr. Combs told you, yo, man, I'm gonna have to deal with this. You need to get the F out. Did he say that? No, that's not correct. Okay. So in 2023, didn't you tell the prosecutors that he said, yo, man, he's reading it. Objection, Your Honor, that's not an evidence. Judge sustains it. Says, all right, why don't you just refresh his recollection on that? Then you can move to admit it. All right, I'll do that, Your Honor. Hey, male dancers, I want to show you this document. Can you read it to yourself, please? He reads it. Does that refresh your recollection for you there? Well, I don't remember saying that. What I'm reading here, get the F out. Objection! Judge says, disregard that. Don't say that, right? I don't remember reading it. He's not laying the foundation. The guy doesn't recognize. I don't remember that. I haven't seen this before in my life. Objection! Judge says, disregard that. All right. Now, did you date a model named Malia? And I didn't say I dated her, okay? We were friends. And you were with her and you saw Cassie at the same time with someone who was not Mr. Combs? Is that true? So Cassie, this other person, and this dude all together. Diddy wasn't there, was he? Right? Right. And you told Melia that you saw Cassie socially. Yeah, I did. And you thought Cassie wanted to see you one-on-one that had nothing to do with Sean Combs, right? Well, I don't see what you mean there. In front of the Dream Hotel, that's what you thought? No, I didn't think that. You only saw her inebriated one time. I saw her passed out on the couch and Diddy told me, I don't think it's going to happen today. The time with the other male, you guys rotated? That's not correct. So you watched? Yeah. You said Combs was directing all of this, right? But do you recall meeting the prosecutors on March 28th, 2025 and telling them that you didn't recall Mr. Combs giving directions about positions? Yes. So he didn't direct? Incorrect. Now you thought you were in a relationship with Cassie, right? No. You wanted to get alone with her, to date her? Well, if she'd let me, I would have. You'd get jealous of Mr. Combs, wouldn't you? No. And did you not tell them that Mr. Combs would tell you, it's my turn? Objection, Your Honor. Can we come up there, Your Honor, and talk about this as a prosecutor? They go up, talk to the judge. Defense attorney comes back. All right, Mr. Dancer, didn't you tell the government that you would feel jealous because you liked Miss Ventura romantically? Didn't you say that? I do not recall that. All right, well, put up 35 through 70, please. Prosecutor, just for the parties, Your Honor, not for the jurors to see this. You recognize this? I do not recall that, he says. And he looks at him, he goes, nothing further, right? It's like, it must be his text messages or something. So it's like, okay, we all know. I don't recall that. Redirect, prosecutor comes up. All right, Mr. Male Dancer, please explain why you now say Mr. Combs directed you, right? You didn't say that originally, now you say it. Well, he asked about positions, but Mr. Combs did tell us what to do. Like he told us to use baby oil and stuff. So I was answering him about positions. Now, the timing of the handing of the cash, how did that amount compare to your services? It's a lot more, $3,800 more. And how much were you paid to perform when you could? $700 to $5,000 or $6,000, it kind of depends. And when you couldn't perform, well, they paid me nothing. Did Miss Ventura call you after the Dream Hotel? Yeah. Do you know who she was with? No. Did she answer your text messages? Never, almost. You said you wanted to hug her. Why was that? Well, I could see she was afraid. And what did you do? I couldn't engage with her because I was just so messed up. And what did Mr. Combs say to you? He said, it's time for you to go. And in the Gramercy Embassy Hotel, who was in the room there? Diddy, me, and Cassie. And when she appeared to enjoy herself, was Diddy always in the room? Yeah. Was that the same man who called her a B and beat her? Well, I did not see the beating. I just presume. Objection, sustained. Okay, well, you heard slapping, is that right? Yes. Nothing further, Your Honor. Recross, defense is up. Yes, Your Honor, very briefly. Mr. Dancer, now this document seen here, do you see where you said, I'm on the Upper West Side? See that? And she says 10 West End Avenue. Hit me up when you're there. You see that? Yeah. Do you see your text? It says, don't give an F if I'm a little tipsy. I love y'all, N-word. See that? Yes. And that was after the beating occurred? Yes. Nothing further. Okay. Prosecutor comes back up. Redirect. Why did you write that? Well, I wanted them to see I had no problem with what he had done, that it could keep it going. No further questions. He's done. Your Honor, can we have a sidebar before we call this next witness up here? Because it's going to be a big one. Yeah, no problem. Come on up here. And they talk to the judge. Judge says, jurors, we're going to take a short break here. Attorneys and I are going to have some issues to deal with. All rise. Jurors leave. And we're back. Combs' defense attorney, called Anna Marie Esteveo, says, Your Honor, now we'd like Miss Ventura's husband to not be allowed in the courtroom during her testimony. We mean to call him as a witness later, depending on the direct exam. This is the rule of exclusion of other witnesses who might listen to one witness's testimony and then match it. Says, so we got to kick him out. Prosecutor says, what? Well, I'm not sure how his testimony would be relevant at all. Mr. Fine? Miss Garagos? Your Honor, just give me about 15 seconds. Now, if he wants to come into the courtroom today, that's fine, but we ask that he be excluded when the testimony gets into post-2018. Government says, well, Your Honor, I mean, I'm going to ask about post-2018, but only about the devices. Okay, Miss Garagos? Okay, Tenny says, that's okay. All right. So we'll wrap up our break, hit the restroom, see you back in a few minutes. And we're back. All rise, and we're back. Prosecutor begins. Diddy trial, testimony, day 2. The government calls Cassandra Ventura to the stand. Cassandra takes the stand. She is extremely pregnant. As you can see here, that baby's about to pop. Probably not Diddy's baby, though. Oh, welcome to the stand. I promise to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but God. I do. Prosecutor Johnson. Oh, good morning, Cassie. Can you start with telling us how old are you? I'm 38. And what is your work? I'm a musician and entertainer. And how long were you with Sean Diddy? 10 years. And when you were with Diddy, did you get into arguments? Yes, we would. And it would result in violence. Often. In fact, many times, he dragged me and hit me and beat me. What else did he do? He would stomp me in the head if I was down. And worse. And how frequently was he violent? Too frequently, she says. I would get black eyes. I would get bruises and more. Well, I want to show you a video here. They play the elevator hotel lobby video where he's beating the hell out of her. Where is this? That's the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. What were you doing there? A freak off? What does a freak off entail? She says it's the hiring of an escort. Gotta set it up. All the things. Now, how did you feel when he first asked for one of these? I was pretty confused, she says. I was nervous. I didn't know. I wanted to make him happy. Did you agree to one when he first proposed one? Yeah. And then there were more. It wasn't something I wanted to do, at least not that frequently. But I didn't know what no, if I said no, could turn into. That's interesting that you would say that. What do you mean? I mean making him angry. What were you afraid would happen if you said no? Well, throughout all this time, he had blackmail materials. And what did you give to the government? Laptops. Now, I've handed up an exhibit called GXB. Do you recognize this exhibit? Yes. I've reviewed this drive. It has communications and documents pertaining to Mr. Combs. Did you review the photos on it? Yes. What's this photo? That's me, 2004, with Carrie Morgan. When did you sign with Bad Boy Records, Diddy's label? 2006. It was a 10-album deal. Did you release any after late 2006? No. Now, who's in this photo here? That's Kim Porter. She was Sean Diddy's ex from before me and the mother of his children. Where did you celebrate your birthday in this photo? In Las Vegas. Carrie Morgan was there too. We're out on his patio on my 21st birthday, VMAs. What happened then? Sean kissed me in the bathroom. And so I ran back to my hotel and I told Carrie, when you got back to New York, is that what happened? What happened? Well, I'd visit him in the Trump Hotel in Columbus Circle. Did they do freak-offs in Trump Hotel? He's not going to be happy about that. His apartment was being renovated there. What were you going and doing with your music career? So I was trying to come up with a concept. You know, Sean was the one who called all the shots. How much of an age difference is there between you and Diddy? 17 years. And how did you feel when Sean invited you to the hotels? Nervous, excitement, thought we're going to talk about music. He introduced me to other things. I didn't understand it. Now, did you visit Sean in Miami? Yeah. I went with Carrie Morgan in Dallas, Austin. And what did you guys do together? Made pupusas. He gave me Blue Dolphin drugs on a boat. And had you ever taken those drugs before unintentionally? Yes, I did. Well, how did you take it intentionally? I used Gatorade. When you took it intentionally, was Sean. How did it feel? Like rolling. And what did you think? That we were spending a lot of time together. I thought we were monogamous. Was it made public? No, I was an artist. I was his artist. Also, his family, his children, they knew. Well, who was linked to him publicly? That was Kim Porter. And how did Sean treat you at the time? Well, we had fun. What was his lifestyle like? You know, he had all these assistants. He could get things done. He traveled quite a bit and tons of stuff. Can you tell me about this photo? Yeah, that was Sean and I at a club in New York in 07, 08 in Halloween. Can you tell me about Diddy's moods? Did those vary? Yeah, they did day to day. When it swung, could you describe it? Yeah, angry, zoning out, very mad. How did it impact you? Oh, greatly. The next thing I knew, I was getting hit in the face. There was also psychological abuse. He'd tell me to watch my mouth, change my face, and all sorts of things. Now, how would he keep tabs on you? Well, we didn't live very far apart. He'd send security to come find me or a trusted assistant. Like who? David James, Christina Coram. Was your relationship exclusive? No. Did you see other men? Yes. Did Sean see other women? Yes, he did. He said, I am Puff Daddy. I can see whoever I want. I was insanely jealous. Did you move to LA with him? Yes, he wanted to be close to his kids who were there. And where did you live in LA? I lived near the Wilshire Corridor. How tall was that building? Oh, I don't know. I don't think it was any more than 17 floors. And where did Sean live? Over on Mapleton. And he would use a golf course to get back and forth. When you lived in LA, who paid your rent there? Sean did. Except when I had the house in Studio City. Well, why did you pay for it then? I could afford it then. And I wanted to have some control. And it was accepted. By whom? By Sean. How many songs did you write while you were with Sean? Hundreds. But most were never released. Some got leaked on the internet, some on mixtapes and stuff. How many albums on your deal were not released? 9. Did you get paid for them? No. How come? Well, the freak-offs became a job. There was no time to do anything else but to do them and then recover from all the freaking. How much time in your week would freak-offs take? The longest was 4 days. That's a long freak-off for sure. So we'll break here, says the judge, for lunch, and we're back. Cassie's still on the stand. Who is your manager at Bad Boy Records? She says James Cruz. What did he tell you? That he was managing me with one hand tied behind his back. He had to check everything with Sean. Well, how did you make any money if your records weren't being released? Well, I did hosting parties when Sean approved them. And what comments did Sean make to you about your physical appearance? He said that I looked too Mexican with my hair like that. Racist. How did he like your nails? White, French tipped. Hair? Varied. I shaved my head in '09. Your body? He told me to work out, to get prepared for the freak-offs. Right? Lots of squats. How did you feel about his comments? She says it varied. Well, what else did Sean pay for? Cars? Did he give you cash? Yeah. But he would take things away depending on how he felt. What else would he take away? My confidence. Who would take things away? Staff. Well, I assume staff. Objection. Jury disregard. Who took your laptop and your phone, Cassie? Security did. And how long would they be gone for? However long I was being punished for. And how often were you in contact with Sean's staff? Daily. And who were in these photos? Christina and Fletcher. What did you call Miss Coram? KK. And who's this? That's D-Rock. He was Diddy's security. And how frequently were you in Sean's residences? All the time. Did they all have safes? Yeah. What did you observe in them? Cash, jewelry, cameras, videotapes, guns, all sorts of stuff. Do you recall an incident between Sean and Suge Knight? Yes. We were having a freak off in LA. D-Rock security came in and said Suge was down at diner. Sean drove over there. What was your reaction? I cried. I said, don't do something stupid. Were you ever handed a gun, Cassie? Yes. We were going to a club in downtown LA. We'd taken mushrooms. I was high. I was told to put the gun in my bag and I was freaking out. Who was present with you there? A driver was there. Security. Sean was there. Another time I saw them get dressed up and grab guns and leave in an SUV. How long were they gone for there? Oh, 30 to 40 minutes. Okay. Well, I want to switch topics. Now, how soon into the relationship with Diddy did he mention voyeurism to you? Well, I'd say first 6 months or a year. And how old were you when this started? 22. Why did you agree to try a freak off? Good question. I wanted to make him happy. Where was the first freak off? One of his homes in LA? I'm going to show you this. Now, who is this person? That's the first escort. Do you know his name? No. Okay, well, I'll call him first escort. Were you aware that he was paid? Yes. To dance and to do things with you, right? Yes, I know. Well, what drugs did you take? I had ecstasy and alcohol before things started. Did you disguise your appearance? Sean said that we would disguise ourselves, so I wore a masquerade mask. What was a session in a freak off? He says, well, until they finish. And how many sessions with the first escort? Well, at least 2. And how did you feel? She says, I was high. I didn't feel much. Dirty, confusion, and that he was happy with me. Why did you feel that you couldn't say no, right? This is where we get into like a RICO conspiracy where multiple people are pushed into these things. I didn't want to make him angry or upset after he'd shared this part of himself with me. And how frequent did these become? Weekly for a consistent amount of years. And when was your last one? Ventura, 17 and 18. How long were you awake during these? I never slept. I took drugs and I was up. Do you recall all of these freak-offs? She says, no. Did you want to stop? Yes, I was humiliated. I didn't have those words then. I couldn't talk to anybody about it. She's sobbing in the courtroom. Now, did you tell him, Diddy, that you didn't want to? Yes. I brought it up gently. I said, I didn't want to just do it with someone else. Were you able to express your concerns to him? Objection leading. Rephrase. Why would you talk to him gently? Well, I didn't want him to get angry. Well, what is this? That's an email between me and Sean. What did you call him? Pop Pop. Why? He asked me what I called my grandfather. I did it, but now I think it was disrespectful. Well, what did you write? I said, I really need to F, is what she sent in an email. I really need to F. Why did you write that? Because I wanted to be with him. All right, I'll read your messages and you read yours. I'll read Sean's messages and you read yours, okay? So Sean said, you don't want to do anymore? She said, I'm so predictable. What do you think that meant when he said that, when you said that, or vice versa? That he knew I didn't want to do the freak-offs anymore because then I backpedaled. Why? To make him angry. To not make him angry because he could get violent. Where'd you get your outfit? At a pleasure chest store and elsewhere. Did you get piercings? Yeah. Diddy came with me. Which of his homes did you have freak-offs in? Miami, New York, other homes? Well, my homes, all of them but Studio City. How about other cities? Yeah. Atlanta, Ibiza. And in what hotels in New York? Trump Hotel, they had freak-offs? Oh, gross. Trump. He should declare war or something. I don't know. They had freak-offs at the Trump Hotel, at the Gramercy Hotel. Intercontinental? Yeah. Elsewhere? Yeah. Mandarin, Fontainebleau. What names were used? Jackie Star. I used Frank Black and other. Baby oil all over the place was used. Who bought these things? Security and Sean's assistants. Everybody was buying these. What type of baby oil did you use? Johnson's. How was it used? Sean said, you need to be glistening. Just layer yourself in it. Where were the freak-offs where you ran out of baby oil? Objection, Your Honor. This is totally irrelevant. You also mentioned another lubricant. Your Honor, objection. This is irrelevant. We already got it. They use lubricant, okay? We don't need to get gratuitous into this, like the 55-gallon drum or something, all right? Don't need to get into it. Enough. Judge says, no, they can ask about it. We were just talking about another brand. Now, how is that used? Well, he has lubricant, obviously. So if you ran out, what would happen next? Well, we'd call the bell desk. We'd give them a tip. They'd go to Walgreens. They'd fill up a whole cart. Were the freak-offs lit? Like, was there lighting? Initially, it was a candle. Strong smelling, we used Glade to cover up the disgustingness. Were there any other use of the wax candle? A few times, they poured it on my body. Who sent the temperature of the room? Sean did. And I was even expected to do freak-offs even in my cycle. Did you want to do that? No. Did you want to be peed on? Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered. Overruled. I didn't hear that asked. No, I did not want that. How did it feel? Disgusting. I choked. No one could think I wanted it. It was horrible. Well, why were you choking? Because it was in my mouth and I couldn't breathe. Who else urinated on you? Sean did. Diddy did. Did you want him to? No. How often did it happen? Often enough. Ugh. Which hotel charged the most for the damage to the room? Intercontinental. They redecorated the whole room for a ridiculous amount of money. Now I want to get back to the urination. Judge says, all right, only a few more questions on that. Why didn't you just say no? It was obvious I didn't want to be on the ground urinated on by two men. It's obvious. Where did you find escorts? Craigslist. Judge says, all right, we're going to take a break and we're back. Now, Miss Ventura, prosecutor, in what cities did you respond to ads on Craigslist? New York. Did you post on Backpage as well? Yes. Who directed you to communicate with escorts? Objection. Who, if anyone? Same objection. Those are not facts and evidence. Did you ever reach out to anybody to escort independently? No. Did you ever not use an escort who arrived? One couldn't perform, so Sean sent him on. What was a safe escort? She says, someone who's not a cop. Someone who'd not run and tell everyone about it. Well, why not a cop? Oh, I learned the whole situation was not legal. Objection. Judge says, jury, disregard that. How did the cash get in there? Well, security or somebody brought it in. And this one escort called Dave, do you know his real name? She says, yes. His name's Clayton Howard. And who's this? Photo. Daniel. What service did you use for this? A dancer service. Do you recognize this person, Jules? Yeah. In what city did you have freak-offs with Jules? New York, LA, Vegas. You know his last name? No. Who's this? Well, I knew him as the Punisher. Did you use drugs at every freak-off? Yes. How come? I need to disassociate to become emotionless. Who else used drugs at these freak-offs? Sean. Sometimes the escort. What other drugs did you use? Special K, GHB, mushrooms. Prosecutor says, I'm going to read you some of this email. I'll play Sean, you be you. She says, why should I take the thing? When will you be there? Diddy says, hold on, pausing you there. What did you mean? Drugs. Okay, Sean says, I took mine. I'm flying. And what does Sean mean when he says I'm flying? Oh, he's high. Why did you take more drugs? To be present and not be present with the experience? Why? Because it was something I hated. How did you react to these drugs? They would make me vomit. And what would he say when you vomited? Continue. Just keep going. Did you want to continue to do this when you vomited? No. How does that drug drug make you feel? Drunk and tipsy? And cocaine makes my heart race. I'm not a fan. And the mushrooms, the walls come alive. And we're back from a break. When the drugs ran out, how did you know who to reach out to? Well, Sean would tell me. And during the session, how would you know to move to the next step? Sean would say. What would happen after the escort finished? Sean would want to put, did you do that? Yes. Sean put it on his nipples. Did you want to put it on his nipples? No. How did you feel? I felt like an object. I was being objectified by men. Sometimes he would watch by FaceTime. Were some sessions recorded on your devices? Yeah, because they were there. If you saw them on your device, what would you do? I would delete them. Why? Well, they were disgusting. I never wanted anyone to see them. Were Sean's devices used? Yes, and I asked him to delete those too. Did he? I don't know. Did you ever leave a freak off before it was over? Yes. At the Century City Intercontinental, I finally had a premiere coming up, and I didn't want to mess it up, but Sean hit me. At what point did Sean hit you? In between sessions. And what happened next? I got to the elevator. Next thing I knew, I was thrown to the ground. Who threw you down? Sean. He grabbed me by the neck and the hoodie. Okay, I want to play this video for everybody. What were you doing? Trying to use the hotel phone? What is Sean doing? Taking my phone and my bag. Your Honor, it's a good time to break here for the day. And they release the jury. So testimony's done for the day. Jury's gone. Judge says, all right, what about the pool reporters? So back to these disgusting videos we're going to see. What about the pool reporters? Can they see these things? Well, we oppose that, Your Honor. So does Jane. Judge says, all right, I'm provisionally denying any pool viewing of the videos. All right, that's my reading of the Ghislaine Maxwell case, and we're done. Time to go take a shower yet again. As the case continues, we'll cover it. See you back here on the next one.